Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is not the video that I had expected to upload, but I'm going to go ahead and film it anyway. And I'll tell you why this wasn't what I had in mind. But before I do, I'll let you know what I'm working on. And I will bring in a screenshot and I'll put it up there. It's Life Above the Fray, which is a Chuck Pinson Dreamer Design diamond painting. I heard that he will no longer, I think in 2022, be licensed by Dreamer Designs, but I still have a couple of his Dreamer Design paintings. I will say that I really love this one. The squares are very tight, it makes it very easy to be accurate when I'm working on this. Right here, what you see here is a ton of confetti, and that's what I'm working on. I am actually working on two colors right now. They're very similar, but I'm working on the symbol H and the symbol N. And I think I've gotten most of them, but while I'm working on it, I'm also using this magnifier light because sometimes you can't see the symbols very well with the light pad on. So like if I would have shut the light pad off, which I'm going to do right now, the difficult to see symbols are just much clearer. So I know that I just moved my iPad and I hope it doesn't shake too much while I work. I'm just tightening the screw that holds the boom arm into place, so we'll have as little shaking as possible, but I thought I would just kind of see how much I can remember from what I was talking about when I made my video last night. Now my video last night filmed properly. I can open it on my iPad. I filmed it on my iPhone. It opens fine on my iPad. It opens fine in LumaFusion, but it will not upload to YouTube no matter what I do. So I made a couple of quick sample videos and they uploaded right away. So somehow there's a data error that I don't have enough skill to correct. So what we'll do right now is work on this painting while I attempt to talk about what I'm reading. So what I thought I would do is to take a couple of planner pages out. And here they are right here, and that's this week's reading. This week's reading goes up to here. This is what I'm reading now. I read these two yesterday, these two this morning. I'm reading this one, and I probably will get the rest of these in over the weekend because these were 224 pages each. This is 256, and these are a mix up between 224 and 256. So it's only 2 to 2.5 hours if I, when I read them. But I'm not necessarily going to talk about those right now. I'm going to just work on this painting as best I can. And like I said, I'm working on the N and the H. The symbols are very similar, but I think I've been able to distinguish them enough. But I want to get rid of both of these symbols since they're so similar and so hard to discern. And then that way I can bring in some blues and greens on this part of the confetti. So, like I said, when I made my video last night, I wanted to talk about what I had read up until last night, which would have been Coldest Ice and Moonlight on Mistletoe on Moonstone Lake. That's where I was last night. So what I thought I would do is, if I do these WIP and chats on a regular basis, I would highlight maybe 2 books that stood out to me during that week. Now, if that's something that I do on a regular basis, I will choose a day so that I can have a, say, 7-day backlog of books to choose from. So should I, put the drill in the wrong place. There I go. That's why I'm doing these H's and N's, because they're just so hard to see. Dreamer Designs did send me a PDF of this, but with this magnifying light, which it doesn't look like I can use it while my iPad is filming, but I'm getting there, and I'm absolutely loving this painting. The section that I did, which is below, you can't see it without me moving the iPad, proves how beautifully the confetti all comes together when all the drills are in. And this is a continuation of the section that I did about a month ago, because I've done 4 diamond paintings since I started this one and put it up. So I wanted to talk to you about what I have read in the last 7 days. Now I know I'm doing a Monday reads, and I did a whip and chat. I talked about some books, and I'm still debating what I'm going to do for my Fridays. And like I said, the video was made. They just decided that it was corrupted. So, one of the books I wanted to talk about was Little Bones by Patricia Gibney. Little Bones is the 10th book in the Detective or DC Detective Constable, DC Lottie Parker series. And when the 9th book ended, and I should have gotten the name of the 9th book, Lottie and Boyd, well, actually, when the 9th book began, Lottie and Boyd, and let's see, I'm looking for my iPad when I'm filming on my iPad. Let's find out what that 9th book was. I think my cat just opened my office door. So we're just gonna go to Goodreads. Okay, and we're going to find out what the 9th book was, because I do want to tell you a little bit about this to set up this particular book that I want to talk to you about. So the 9th book in the series, and like I said, I read all 9, was Silent Voices. Okay. So I may bring in a screenshot, but there's the 9th book in the series, Silent Voices. So in the 9th book, Detective Lottie Parker, or DC Lottie Parker, was just about to get married to Boyd. Now, Boyd is also a detective constable at DC, and they work together, and they're about to get married. But soon, while the ceremony is just about to take place, there's a dead body found outside the church, and their wedding is called off, and they have an investigation that they have to get into. So I assumed as a reader that when I got to book number 10, which is the one that I will try and bring in a screenshot of, Lottie and Boyd would be getting married. Well, at this juncture, Lottie is acting a certain kind of way, and then so is Boyd. And their relationship is really, really strained. And I was a little disconcerted by that because I'm such a romantic. My cat opened my door. Give me a moment. My husband has a game on, so I didn't want that to come through. So in this case, in Little Bones, a murder takes place, and that is what is the basis of the situation between Lottie and Boyd, because of course they have to solve the case. And then they start to see that not only did one murder take place, but then another murder happens after that, and a certain clue is left with each murder, and this brings in something from the past as far as the killer's voice, which we hear in the background. And as the killer is expressing his reason for committing these heinous crimes, Lottie and Boyd's attention is on that, and they don't have a lot of time to work out some kinks in their, not kinks, but like some, a little bit of fissure in their relationship. Meanwhile, something is really bothering Boyd, and he's not really conversational with it towards Lottie. So I was ending book number 9 thinking that, they were going to get married once and for all, but it didn't happen. And I still gave the book, I think I gave the book 4 stars. I don't think I went as high as 5 stars, but it was still a very good book because the entire series is fabulous. But just letting you know where I stood as a reader as I was entering the 10th book of the series. So that's Little Bones by Patricia Gibney. I loved it, and I'm definitely looking forward to book number 11. The way that book number 10 ended, it definitely left me in eager anticipation for the next book in the series. So I just thought I'd tell you a little bit about that. Hopefully you'll go to Amazon and see if any of these I just want to see if any of these are on Kindle Unlimited, because I think that if you like crime thrillers, you would enjoy this series. Let's see if this is available on Amazon. I gotta go to desktop site. I mean, I know they're available on Amazon, but my curiosity is whether, okay, they're not Kindle Unlimited. They're about $5 a pop, but they're still very, very good books, and you might even be able to get them at your library. The next book I thought I would tell you about is The Liar's Child by Cheryl Brown. Oh my goodness, this book was a twister for sure. Somebody in this book is lying, and even though I consider myself quite the intelligent reader, I was dragged around by the nose in this book. And basically you have a couple, Matt and Kay, who are married, and for most of their marriage they've been happy, but now Kay is really disenchanted with Matt because she's sure he's cheating. There's certain, I just popped the drill off. Matt is a physician, and he specializes in pediatrics, and he's pretty much on call all the time, but she starts to feel that some of his on-call time is not actually working, that he's having an affair. So that's where Kay's mind is at. And then you have Matt, who is not communicating with Kay, why he's acting a little distant in their relationship, and Kay not communicating with Matt why she's so concerned and so sure he's cheating. And then there's a real snag in the plan, because they have a 5-year-old daughter named Poppy who is actually quite ill. I'm looking for my next drills. Who's actually quite ill, and she may be facing surgery. And so instead of focusing on Poppy and her impending, she has renal disease, kidney disease. Instead of focusing on Poppy and her impending disease and whether they find a match and things of that nature, they're running into problems. Well, little Poppy hated going to school until she befriended a little girl who, her name was Olivia, or Liv, and Olivia was Poppy's doppelganger. And if you've watched any type of sci-fi, you know a doppelganger, that word, I don't know where the word originates from, but it's your twin. Somewhere on this planet, we're all said to have a twin, because really we are all affected by 6 degrees of separation. So this little girl, it looks exactly like like Poppy, I'm sorry. And so with Kay assuming that her husband is having an affair, seeing a little girl that looks exactly like her daughter, she's absolutely sure that he has cheated, because this little girl could be her daughter's sister. So that's the drama that comes into this, but it's a psychological thriller. It's not just a drama. It's not women's fiction. It's a psychological thriller. So how do you have an unhappy marriage, a sick child, possible affair, and call it a psychological thriller? Well, that's all in the name of the book. The Liar's Child. Who's the liar? Whose child? And so forth and so on. Really, really, really good 5-star read. Loved it. Another book that I talk about, and I only intend on making this video a couple more minutes because I want to get a feel to see whether or not highlighting a couple of top reads in my week, whether or not you guys would enjoy that. So we won't talk about all. I think I've read 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 14 books this week so far, and I'll probably get another 3 or 4 read before Sunday's over. So we won't talk about all 14. So anyway, another book I really wanted to talk to you about is Dead Mercy by Noelle Holton. Now, Dead Mercy is the 5th book in the DC Maggie Jameson series. Again, DC is Detective Constable. And I've read the first 4 books, Dead Inside, Dead Wrong. Okay, I'm not going to be able to call them, and I'm not going to waste your time by looking them up on Goodreads. But those were they're all 5 of the books have the word dead in front of them. Well, in this case, there's somebody that's brutally killing women, and he's showing no mercy. So I can see why they use the word mercy in the title. And Maggie is trying to solve the crime. And while she's working on the crime, she's dealing with some personal issues. And one of the personal issues that she's dealing with is the fact that there's a journalist who's kind of involved with the case. And Maggie's concerned because she doesn't want the journalist, whether I'm not sure if it's the news or news magazine, but she doesn't want to tip off the killer that they're getting close or that they recognize a certain clues that are attached to the murders. And then there's a second reason that Maggie wants a little bit of distance between, and the journalist's name is Julie. It might be Julie Noble, but it's definitely Julie. So I thought that was a really good book. I gave it 5 stars. I actually was able to get it read quickly, and it was the first review of this book was mine. So that was kind of a bonus, to be able to read a really good book and to be able to get a review written and published on NetGalley and Goodreads. So that I was happy to read that. And then I wanted to tell you about one more book. I read so many good ones. I was going to tell you about Coldest Ice by Tony Anderson. Now, Coldest Ice, it's murders taking place, and this couple were facing, again, it's a crime thriller or mystery thriller, a brutal killer. And in Coldest Ice, you have an FBI agent. Wait a minute. Give me 1 second. I think he's supervisory special agent, and he's a negotiator, and he gets involved. Give me 1 second. I do have to bring this up. It's so funny because as much as I know about books, I get so nervous when I'm making a video that I will forget certain facts with the book, and then as soon as I put the video, shut the video off, then my brain starts to replay the whole book. So as I mentioned, supervisory special agent, FBI. Okay, I just had a glance at it. His name is Eben, which is Eban Winters, and he gets involved because a woman goes home with a guy and wakes up on the guy's sofa, and she wakes up in a confused state. Her name is Darby O'Rourke, and she wakes up in a confused state, and for a second she doesn't even know where she is, but she's on the sofa of a guy, and she starts to remember that, wait a minute, I came to a Christmas party here before. This is so-and-so's house. What am I doing here? So she calls out to the guy. He doesn't respond to her calls, and she wanders around a bit, and then she's like, well, she sees that the dishes are out of order, so she goes, and as she's doing the dishes, she's making a lot of noise in the kitchen because she's hoping that he'll come stumbling into the kitchen and explain why she's there, why she slept on the sofa. And by the way, I think she's like a graduate student, and so they were going to the same university. I don't know why these drills, I don't know if you can see what I'm doing right here, but the drills are really jammed in. I may have to work the other drills around it and then come back and straighten that up. I think it's just better to leave it because when I shift one, I'm shifting a lot. The Dreamer Design squares, by the way, are very, very, very tight. So the end result is gorgeous, but as you can see, I just got jammed up. So anyway, she's making all this noise in the kitchen, and he still doesn't come in here. So she finds his bedroom, and she walks in the room into the doorway, and she sees his feet sticking up. So she knows he's lying on his back, and so she calls his name. She calls his name a second time, a third time, and he doesn't respond. So she starts to go over to the bed, and she sees that he's got a knife sticking out of his chest, and his eyes are wide open, and she knows he's dead. She doesn't even try to resuscitate him or anything. So she panics and leaves, but she calls this supervisory special agent, Eben. They have a history together in a professional sense because the year before, the previous summer actually, she had been kidnapped and assaulted, and he was one of the FBI agents who saved her life. Again, I'm jammed up here. These are so tight, but like I said, the end result makes it worth it. So anyway, she calls him, but she also does the responsible thing and calls the police, who immediately try to charge her with the crime. And so he steps in, but he has to kind of assess the situation before he can step in to help, because there's a long-standing conflict between the police and the FBI, because it's a matter of whose territory. That's not the right word. Who I can't think of the term. Like, is it a federal crime? Is it a local crime? Is it a state crime? So with that clash in who's responsible for solving the murder, Evan comes to her aid, but he holds back a bit to assess the situation, and so as to not upset the police if they actually do have a case against her. But as it turns out, she was not the murderer, and Evan proceeds to hide her because she was clearly framed for the crime. And it was a really, really thrilling book. It's a romantic suspense, so there's a lot of romance between her and Eben. Her name is Darby, if I haven't already said that. There is romance between them, but it was more so the suspense, the drama, the intrigue of who it was that killed the guy that tried to frame her, and any other victims that happen along the way, and how she's involved. And it was a very, very good book. I haven't written a review yet, and I did read it as an ebook, but the night that I read it during the day on Friday, but Friday night I got a message offering me the code, a Kobo code, so I could have gotten it as an audiobook, but I wrote the publicist and said, nope, thank you anyway, but I already read it. I couldn't wait because it was just too good, and so I didn't have to. But I bet you it would have been great as an audiobook because it was really a good thriller. And those are the only books I'm going to tell you about. So if this video is to your liking and you'd like me to highlight 2 or 3 books once a week like this, not including my wrap-ups that I'll be doing on Mondays, if you'd like me to highlight specific books like this, just let me know and I'll come back and do that. I hope to make these videos on Friday night and post them Friday night, but like I said, the video that I made last night did not upload. So this will be something that, if I do it, will come out on Fridays. But that's it for now. I want to thank you for your time. Bye-bye.